Welcome to the Pub Sports Radio NBA closing time show for Wednesday, February 24th. Ian Cameron, Skee Prophet, ready to break down the Wednesday NBA card. Without further ado, let's get right into it. We'll start with Golden State taking on Indiana. Pacers, 2.5 point home favorites, 231.5 the total in this game. We've got Indiana, a situation here where the Pacers have been off now for a good period of time. They've had a couple of games postponed over the last week or so. So they've been off for a full entire week since they beat the Timberwolves in overtime in their last game. We'll see if they're able to, get that fluidity back in their game quickly. That's always the question when you've got teams dealing with these little bit of a pause in their season, these hiatuses. Rest versus rust. That's always the argument. I think the rest is good for Indiana. For Golden State, I worry a little bit because they're on a back-to-back. They did have to extend themselves a little bit in order to get past a very valiant New York Knicks team last night, 114 to 106. They've now gotten, this is their fourth game on the road for this Warriors team in the last 6 days. So that's a little bit of a concern. A lot of some travel, number of games in a short period of time. That might show up as this game goes on here. So I think if you like Golden State, target them maybe to have that energy in their system early, first quarter, first half. But I think as the game goes on, you could see the advantage swing to the Pacers here. I'm waiting to see if this number comes down a bit because it was 3 for Indiana. There's been some Golden State money down to 2.5. I'm leaning to go against that with Indiana here in this game. I think it's a decent spot for them. And I think Golden State, a lot of games in a condensed period of time all on the road could end up coming back to haunt them. And it's not like this is the same deep bench-laden Golden State team that they've had in years past. So they could be feeling it a little bit tonight from a fatigue standpoint. What do you think, Skee, here with the Warriors and the Pacers?
It does feel like Golden State has been playing every single day. And the thing, one of these past games, Steph Curry didn't play, though, because he wasn't feeling well. So maybe he's a little bit has a little bit more energy than the rest, but it is maybe a tough spot. That's the only reason, in my opinion, the Golden State Warriors are not favorite is because of the rest situation. But I mean, Golden State's been playing better, in my opinion, than last what I saw from Indiana. And I'm not sure, like you said, if Indiana is going to come out playing fluid like they were before. So I will lean Golden State. And if I had to play the total, my number I have for this game is closer to 226, and it was in the 230s last I checked, right? So I would lean towards an under now probably. And Warriors got their big man back, so it's not going to be like no rim protection. It's not like everybody's going to be scoring on them. And even without their big man, their defensive rating in the last 5 is third. So I think you can get under the total.
Yeah, it's pretty high for an Indiana game. I mean, 230s, you deserve to see 230s routinely with Brooklyn, with New Orleans. There's a bunch of teams you can put there in that totals range. That's pretty high for the Pacers. We'll see if it's warranted tonight. We've got Houston and Cleveland. We'll do the Toronto-Miami's next on the rotation, but it's an 8 p.m. game, I believe, because of national TV. So we'll go on down the list. Houston and Cleveland. We've got Houston 4-point road favorites, 220 the total in this game. Wow. Pick your poison. Cleveland did win and cover finally last night against the Atlanta Hawks, so we'll give them a little bit of credit for finally getting off the schneid. It would have been just an absolutely horrendous run for them. But now can they keep it going for a team that now finally notched their first point spread win and their straight up win in their last 10? And now they got to play Houston, who just continue to have just all kinds of issues. Believe it or not, I'd probably be closer to taking Cleveland here than Houston. I mean, Houston's it's been disastrous. I took Chicago against them the other night. I was kind of surprised that game hung around pick'em against the Bulls the other night. And of course, the Bulls take care of business against this Rockets team. Skee has mentioned it a bunch. Without Christian Wood, this team has just been in shambles. They're still without Victor Oladipo. And Eric Gordon got injured in that game against Chicago the other night. And he's questionable now for this game tonight against the Cavs. So there's no way I'm laying 4 with Houston. Can you trust Cleveland? Does the win last night give them a little momentum? It is a back-to-back situation for them, so Houston does have a little bit more rest, but I don't know if rest is going to be enough for me to want to lay 4 on the road with the Rockets right now. In fact, I'll tell you right now, it's not enough for me to want to lay 4 on the road with Houston. It's probably going to be a game I end up staying off. I'm probably going to need to see Cleveland play well again tonight before I can start to see them showing signs of a turnaround. How about you, Skee, with the Rockets and the Cavs?
battle of the hell no team. So I'm not mad at you for saying you want to just not be involved. For myself, I said the same thing that you said. I haven't wanted Houston until they get Christian Wood back. They've covered one game out of their last 8. And on the Cleveland side, I mean, we know the streak that they were on. I think they lost 13 straight and not covered 13 straight before the last one. So I'm not quite sure that I just think Cleveland has turned it around just because one game. So I still, like you said, I'm not thrilled to lay 4. I bet this one already at 3. And I think Houston, the line I have for the game is closer to 6.5. And probably that's with the healthy Houston squad. Probably without Wood, I'll maybe give them a point, if not a point and a half. So at 3, I still think the Houston Rockets win pretty comfortably. And it's a spot that I usually like to back teams to bounce back after they got embarrassed as a home dog, 62% over the past year or two. So I'll ride with Houston one more time. Or not one more time. I'll ride with Houston this time.
All right, liking Houston. And like I say, Skee is not looking to back Rockets very often, but they're playing the Cavs. We're both in that kind of boat where we're not really trusting the Cavs just because they beat Atlanta last night. Probably got to see a little bit more evidence. A little more meat needs to be on the bone for Cleveland to prove it before we say they're ready to showing signs of turning it around. We've got Boston and Atlanta next up. Both of these teams off just demoralizing losses. Anybody losing to Cleveland is pretty bad right now. That's a bad loss, and Atlanta had that last night. And on the Boston side, they got Doncic'd last night in that game against the Dallas Mavericks. Luka Doncic just saying, you know what, I'm winning this game for my basketball team in the final minute with just some clutch plays, big-time shots, the game winner right before time expired. And Boston, that's 2 losses in a row for Boston. They just cough it up big time against New Orleans on Sunday. And then they have that down to the wire loss to the Mavericks last night. We'll see if they can pick up the pieces tonight. They're laying 2 on the road, 224.5 the total in this game. Kemba Walker not going to play. It looks like they're resting him tonight, the Celtics. But as we've mentioned before on this show, we've seen Boston show the ability to step up and play well without Walker. With Brown, with Tatum and company, there's definitely more than enough to get the job done. Semi Ojeleye has also stepped up at times and given them another third option scoring the basketball. So they're always a team that's capable of bouncing back and playing well without Kemba Walker on the floor. You've got Atlanta, too, coming off that loss against – I think Atlanta's actually given Boston some pretty tough games. They already beat Boston once this year. They're coming off that loss. I'm not involved in the side either way in this game. I'm kind of reluctant to back Boston. There's a couple of times now I've taken Boston and I paid the price for it, including last night against Dallas. I'm not on their side. I'm not on either side in this game. I may look to go against this total move down, though. I might look at this game over the total just because I think Atlanta's starting to get their offense going. Their defense is starting to fall backward again. And like I say, when it comes to Boston offensively, I don't necessarily mind it that Kemba's not playing. You've got plenty of other guys that can fill it up. I think the total moving downward, weighted out, may look to go against the move a little bit and go over this number. What do you think, Skee, Boston, Atlanta here?
And remind me the total number again.
The total opened at 227.5. It's now 224, 224.5.
Okay, that's where it's been at for like a few hours. But I do agree with the movement down. The number I have for the game is 223. And neither team is playing at a really fast pace lately. Atlanta's offense has been good, but I don't know. I don't know that I necessarily have trust in Atlanta's defense, but I think both teams are pretty solid defending the perimeter. So I don't think we're going to get a lot of threes in this game. So I lean more towards an under. I think the numbers is pretty fair though, either way. And for the side, I really don't want to get involved with either team, honestly. But as you mentioned, without Kemba Walker, you're almost asking Boston to win. I kind of pulled it up talking, but they're 20-11 straight up, 64.5%, and 18-13 against the spread, 58.1% without Kemba. And the average line was about 3. So I think Boston can win this game, especially the way that they've been losing. I think that they should want to come out and win. And I just don't think that Atlanta's been very good lately. I know Boston's defense will be better. I know Boston's a better rebounding team. So I'll lean towards Boston to win. And as far as the total, I'll lean towards under.
All right, lean to the Celtics and the under for Skee in that one. Toronto and Miami, we've got the Heat 2.5 point home favorites, 214 the total in this game. Certainly the Raptors are definitely a resurgent bunch. And we talk about teams being able to win without a key player. Boston has shown the ability in the past to win without Kemba Walker. Toronto's showing the ability right now to win without Kyle Lowry. And it's really impressive what they've been able to do without him. They finally, I think for the first time, believe it or not, lost without Kyle Lowry since he's been out in that loss last night to the Sixers, 109-102. And even in a game where Philadelphia is coming back strong after losing the first game to Toronto, 110-103, the Raptors they didn't give in last night, even though they were down by 18, by 22 points multiple times in that game, and yet they just kept battling back, chipping away at the lead, and they wouldn't fold the tent and go home. However, I understand that you're never going to totally wave the white flag, especially a team like the Raptors. A lot of Fred VanVleet and all these guys that are really, really good competitors. They don't want to ever give up on a game. But the fact that they expended themselves and pushed themselves right till the end to try to come back in that game against the Sixers, and every time they got close, the Sixers pulled away, it may not set up well for them tonight, because you look at this Raptors schedule, look at what they've been dealt here. February 18th at Milwaukee, February 19th at Minnesota, 21st back home against Philly. They play yesterday, now a back-to-back here at Miami. This for the Raptors is going to be 5 games in 7 days. I don't know if I've ever seen anything like that from a scheduling perspective in my entire life in the NBA. Putting a team out there to play 5 games in 7 days, at some point, the Raptors are going to hit a wall physically. In fact, they almost did against Minnesota, in that game last week where they had a lead. They were on a back-to-back 3 and 4 nights. Minnesota had a huge third quarter to take the lead, but the Raptors gutted out the win somehow. I don't know if there's much gas left in their tank. I worry about this, and I also worry about the fact that Miami's playing great ball right now. They're turning it around. They're playing much better. They're in a good groove right here. They are off a long road trip. You could say it's kind of a negative spot for Miami. They had a 7-game road trip. They're now back home from that. It was a very successful end of the road trip, but I think from a physicality standpoint, who's got more gas in their tank? The team off the 7-game road trip, but maybe haven't played as many games in a condensed period of time, or Toronto, who really have been up against it with a lot of games in a short period of time. I think for that reason, I lean to Miami, but the Raptors are in good form, and they never seem to quit on a game. And we'll see if they've got enough in the energy tank to eke one out tonight against the Heat. We'll see. But Skee, what do you think here? Raptors taking on the Heat.
You pretty much nailed this one. And for me, I think if the Raptors' schedule wasn't so bad, they would be the favorite. So, like you said, they've covered 4 of their last 5 games, and Miami. So it's their tough schedule versus the flat spot, and it's just like a really flat spot because they're coming off 7 games. So, and they play Jazz next. So I think this is a game Miami is not really going to get up for. And if it's that spot versus that spot, I would grab the points. I think I got this one at 3. I'm not sure where it's at right now, but I'll lean towards Toronto.
All right. Yeah, it's down to a 2.5, mostly 2s now. So there actually has been money on Toronto more than anything here in this game. So you did get a really good number on this Raptors team. And yeah, there's no, I'm impressed. I mean, I really am. This is what you got to get used to with these coaches, whether it's the best of the best, Spoelstra, Pop, Stevens, go on down the list, the best coaches in the NBA. Maybe they spend the first month or 2 tweaking their rotations, looking to, change their lineup, see what works. And now Nurse has found a lineup that's working right now. And it took a while. He's had some injuries to deal with. And now the Raptors are playing well again and playing at least more. Like, I still don't think they're a true title contender this year with this group, but at least they're more like the team that they've been, one of those good Eastern Conference teams the last few years. They're playing more like it right now. Next up, we've got San Antonio, Oklahoma City. The Thunder pick 'em -1, 217 the total here in this game. Should be a good one here. We've got the Spurs or the Thunder playing some pretty decent basketball. They ran into a buzzsaw, though, the other night against the Miami Heat, had a poor second half. ended up losing 108-94. For San Antonio, here's another team kind of like Indiana, where they're coming off a little bit of a break, a little bit of a pause. They had won 5 of 6 prior to that pause on February 14th. So it's been 10 days since their last game. I'll have to see how this one goes, but it's just one of those games I think I'd feel more comfortable seeing how San Antonio looks in the first quarter. Are they sharp? Are they at their best? We don't know that yet. We won't know that till we see them actually take the court and play here in this game. And from an injury standpoint, there are some key absences that you have to worry about here for the Spurs going into this one. DeMar DeRozan ruled out for personal reasons in this game. Looks like Derek White as well out for COVID protocols as well for the Spurs. So they could be looks like they are going to be a little bit shorthanded here in this game. Plus, you don't know how sharp they're going to be. It's going to be obviously having to be an adjustment in the starting lineup if you're Pop going into this one. So there's a lot of factors that make you a little bit concerned about San Antonio, yet they've taken money here with Oklahoma City having opened 2.5-point home favorites. Now we're seeing the Thunder just down to 1.5 here in this game. Doesn't seem to be much in the injury department for the Thunder. This is just all opinion here on San Antonio, thinking even with the hiatus, even with DeMar and a couple other guys out, Spurs might be the way to go here. I'm not so sure. I want to see how they look early in the game. I think it's a live betting game for me, if anything here. How about you, Skee, with the Spurs and the Thunder?
I bet this game early, and I'm just quickly looking at this number, but I'm thinking I should have bet it a little bit later because I thought everybody would be out. I thought Aldridge would be out too, and I think if he's in, it kind of may slow the pace down a little bit. But I was looking for this game to get up and over. Even before the hiatus, San Antonio is playing fast. I think OKC, they'll be okay playing fast. They are healthy. They have all their guys back, so I think they'll be okay if they play fast too. And just looking at the Spurs, as long as they've been rested on the road versus these lesser competition teams, 45% win teams or less, and it's going back to 2019. Over is 10-1, and the average total was 228.2, and it went over by 17.14 points per game. So I was looking for an over. The number I have for the game is 222.5, and for the side, I'm not backing the team coming off the hiatus, missing a bunch of players. I'll be looking towards the healthy Thunder that are 1-0 as a home favorite, and I look for them to bounce back after getting embarrassed as a home dog. Those teams, 62%, 67, and 41 against the spread. So I'll go OKC, and I'll go over.
All right, OKC, pick 'em and over 217 is the total here. 217, 217.5 in most spots. So shop around if you like the over there because you can get 217 still at a couple places. Minnesota, Chicago Bulls, 4.5-point home favorites, 229 the total in this game. The Chicago Bulls, they've won 2 in a row against Sacramento and Houston, been able to get the job done in those games. They're still in that kind of price range, though. 4.5 now with Chicago. I mean, the last time they were 4.5-point home favorites, they lost at home to Washington. So, I always think about that when I look at this. I look at this game initially this morning, and I said, this looks cheap on Chicago with what we're seeing out of Minnesota. They've lost, 5 in a row, blown out by they actually did get blown out by New York, I thought, and New York just fell asleep in the fourth quarter and let them back in. And then they did get blown out by Milwaukee last night. It's now also the third game in 4 nights for the Timberwolves, whereas the Bulls, they've had a little bit. Well, Bulls actually are also on their 3rd game in 4 nights, so it's an equal trade-off there. Maybe a step-up effort, win one for the Gipper now for the new head coach of the Timberwolves, Chris Finch, an assistant under Nick Nurse in Toronto, and now he's the head coach of the Timberwolves. Of course, they fired son of Flip, Ryan Saunders, over the weekend. Certainly didn't see it last night against the Milwaukee Bucks, just a putrid game, albeit against a good team, but 139-112. They give up 53 of 99 shooting from the floor, and obviously not a good defensive team to begin with here. 5th game in a row. Not a good first game for Chris Finch taking over this team. I like his quote here: great potential that lies in this team. The opportunity to get to work and maximize players. Well, other coaches have been here in Minnesota the last few years trying to maximize this roster, and nobody's been able to maximize shit. So let's see if Chris Finch can have a little bit better success, better luck here. We'll see. They'll be Anthony Edwards was poor in the last game, but other than that, he's played pretty well. It's probably a guy you can expect to bounce back. I mean, Zach LaVine's been absolutely outstanding for the Chicago Bulls. Maybe one of those games too with two teams that down in the standings a little bit, has a lackadaisical defensive type of attitude. The total has gone up. I would probably agree with the over 228, 228.5. I lean Chicago. I want no part of Minnesota, but I've seen enough of the Bulls in the 4.5, 5, 6-point home favorite range when they've been in this range. I've seen enough up and down inconsistent results from them in this point spread roll and point spread range that I'm pumping the brakes for tonight on back in Chicago. I lean that way, but not going to get there. Skee, what do you think here? Minnesota, Chicago.
Yeah, I don't like this game a lot, but I'm definitely not laying points with the Bulls. 1-3-1 is a home favorite. It's just not something I'm interested in doing. So it'll be Minnesota or pass for me.
Yeah, Minnesota or pass. Again, the back-to-back, but with the new coach. And again, this is a little bit of a step down, to be fair. I mean, Chicago has definitely improved and been better than I think a lot of us thought they would be this year, but they're not Milwaukee. So you would think with the new coach on board, Minnesota's got to show some kind of better effort, step up their game a little bit here tonight. We'll see if they're able to do that. Detroit taking on New Orleans. Next game, Pelicans, 9.5-point home favorites, 223 the total. So Stan Van Gundy kind of got after his team going into the game against Boston and their play, and particularly their defensive effort. And sure enough, that game was going to go under the total. It was going to be finally a New Orleans under for the first time in forever until overtime happened against the Celtics, and that ended up getting the game over the total in that one. But give the Pelicans credit. They didn't have a good start. Maybe something was said at halftime, but it was a much better second half. They just kind of chiseled away at that Celtics lead, got the game back to a tied, and then won it in overtime, 120-115. Is that a turning point maybe for New Orleans? We know they've struggled the last couple of weeks, just 2-5 straight up in their last 7 games, 2-5 against the spread as well. We'll have to wait and see. 9 straight overs, although they needed a little bit of help from overtime to get the last game over. But nevertheless, 9 straight games for New Orleans have gone over. However, 4 straight games have gone under for the Detroit Pistons, who really, to me, have a tough time scoring consistently. Held to not many teams get held below 100 points in 2021 NBA basketball. But Detroit only got 95 against Memphis, 96 against New Orleans, and they bounced back and beat Orlando the last game, 105-93, after only scoring 96 in the first game against Orlando. So it's which team do you want to go with? Do you want to go with, from a total standpoint, you go Detroit trending under, New Orleans trending over. They played once earlier this year. It was 123-112 for Detroit. The total was 222.5. And it got over the total. This one's right around the same number, 222.5. And look, I know the last game needed overtime for the Pelicans to get over the total, but 9 straight, and the total's down in the 220s instead of the usual 230s for New Orleans because of the Pistons being involved. More of a defensive team, more of an erratic offensive team. Maybe that's enough value to get back to the window with the over with the Pelicans, because that's exactly where I'm going to go here with the Pelicans and the Pistons tonight, over 222.5. What do you think, Skee, Detroit, New Orleans?
Well, you made a lot of good points. And so I just put some numbers to some things that you said. As far as the total being where it is for the Pelicans, I was looking since last year just in like this range between 220 and 226. I think that's fairly low for a Pelicans game, just like you said. And in those games, the over is 15-5. So that tells us right there that this total probably should be a little bit higher. The number I made for the game myself was 225. So I would agree there. And as far as the side, I don't know what I'm missing, but the Pelicans pretty much asking them to win by double digits. Myself, that's not something that I'm into. They're 2-7 as a home favorite, 2-5 against the spread their last 7. The line I made for this game was 4. And I think I have Pelicans their last 8 as a favorite, 4 or more. They're 3-5 against the spread. So I'm not looking their way. And for Detroit, if they can't score over 100 in this one, they have problems. But they're 5-1 with no rest. I look at I look at teams just basically that have been playing. They played on the road last game. They're on the road again as a dog with no rest. Those teams are 58.3% so far this year. So I like Detroit plus the points, and I like over the total.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the DeLon Wright absence, I think, hurts Detroit a little bit. He's been playing really well for the Pistons. Now they got to rely more on they always combustible is the word I use, Smith. And you always wonder if he's going to be able to. But Wayne Ellington was good. Jeremy Grant's had a good year. But they do miss DeLon Wright. He had been stepping up in that point guard spot. And, of course, he's out now, at least until early March, or the reports that he's going to be out for at least a couple more weeks for this Pistons team. And that's definitely an unfortunate absence for them with that groin injury because of the way he had been playing. But I still think he can get over the total. And you look at the Pelicans, too. I mean, it's always that way with them. They win a game, and then they just lax on defense again. It always seems to be the pattern as well with the Pelicans. You know, they beat Houston, and then they give up 129 to Chicago. They beat Memphis. They give up 126 to Portland in their next game. So off a win, New Orleans, they just get back to the old ways again. Just give up on defense and forget and just don't bring it at that end of the floor. And that's the thing. I mean, they showed they could do it against Boston. They got stops, key stops late in the fourth, in overtime. But after a win, it seems like they parked the bus on defense and just try to outscore you again. And maybe they do that again tonight with the Pistons, which is why I like the over here. I don't argue with your thought on Detroit. I certainly wouldn't lay it with New Orleans either, but Detroit's blown some big leads after good starts. I could see that again tonight, especially on a back-to-back where they start strong and then second half collapse, which has happened a few times with Detroit, happens again. Hopefully not, but I've seen that a couple of times. The Pistons have had some bad, ugly second halves. Hopefully not the case tonight. Charlotte and Phoenix, we've got the Suns, 9.5-point home favorites here. 225.5 the total in this game. Phoenix with the win and cover against Portland. A really good second half performance. They just pulled away from the Blazers the other night. Charlotte, I was lamenting before we went on the air with Skee that I had Charlotte plus 13 the other night against Utah, and I'm looking good for three quarters. They're, in fact, leading wire to wire for the first three quarters. Like the Hornets were leading the entire way. And then all of a sudden, the fourth quarter arrives, and it's a three-point barrage for the Jazz, and it's like a 4 straight knockout punches to the face, to the kisser of the Hornets, and that was it. Knockout city, and the Jazz just end up pulling away and just cruising to an easy point spread cover after trailing most of the game as 13.5-point favorites. So we'll see if Charlotte can bounce back. I'm tempted to come back with Charlotte here, plus 9.5. I like them in the road dog role. For three quarters, they're leading the Utah Jazz, who have nobody been able to stop them hardly lately. So you really can't fault them too much, can you, for bad fourth quarter that went awry for them. And Phoenix, now the prices are getting jacked up on the Suns. You know, at some point, there's going to be some opportunities to cash in against Phoenix. For as much as I like them and what we're seeing from this Suns team, I thought this team was really well constructed in the offseason, bringing in Chris Paul, bringing in Jay Crowder, a great playoff performer. He's really going to pay dividends for Phoenix at playoff time. I think he's even better in the playoffs as a player than he is in the regular season. But that doesn't take away from the fact that I think at some point, Phoenix is going to start to become an overvalued commodity a little bit. Maybe that's tonight. I lean a little to Charlotte here, plus 9.5. What do you think, Skee, with the Hornets and the Suns?
I don't have the strongest feel as far as the side, but I know the thing that popped out to me, you said Phoenix won and covered, and that's what they always do. If they win, they cover the game. So I know eventually that's going to go away, but what's the status of Hayward? That's what I would have to check. I know he kind of has some issues. He's game time decision. He'll probably play, but I'll probably lean towards the Suns, especially with Devin Booker not making the All-Star team and Suns just being really good at home. They've covered 9 of their last 10 games. They're 10-3 as a home favorite. Booker off the snub. I'd have to take the Suns to win and cover. So that's just the way that I feel about that game. And as far as the total, we know that Charlotte has been playing faster since LaMelo's been starting. And Phoenix, despite their slower pace, they've been the most efficient team over the last 5 games on offense. So I still can see it going over the total. So I like Phoenix and I like over.
Yeah, the over makes sense. I was on the over with Utah Charlotte the other night, 132, 110, 140 or 242 points in that game went over the total. Charlotte's gone over 4 of their last 5. It's coincided with LaMelo Ball getting more floor time, as we've mentioned, and Phoenix has gone over 4 straight. So I see where you're going. Definitely over makes sense to me as well in that one. Charlotte Phoenix 225.5 the total there. It probably does get over the number. And we wrap it up with, and it's just the way it is because it's the last game on the board, but it's fitting we wrap it up with this game. The LA Lakers and the Utah Jazz. Everybody's excited about this. Everybody's excited to keep betting Utah as well, clearly, because they opened 6.5-point home favorites here. They're now 9-point home favorites here against the LA Lakers, 218.5 the total. You tell me that before the season, the Jazz are going to be laying 9 against the Lakers. Man, people are just going to say, what amount can we just dig out from the bank account, from our safe, from our secret stash, whatever the case may be, and put it on the Lakers +9. But that's what happens when the Jazz are on one of these runs of a lifetime right now. That's what happens when all of a sudden the Lakers are losing at home to the Washington Wizards and blowing a lead in the process. That's when you get this kind of overreaction, and that's when you get this kind of point spread adjustment, and a Lakers team that is battling some injuries as well. We know AD's out. They've had guys in and out consistently. LeBron's always on the injury report, but he's always playing. So you got to discount that. But, other than that, Kyle Kuzma's been on the injury report lately, in and out each and every day. It looks like he's playing tonight. Dennis Schroeder's missed the last couple of games for the LA Lakers, but he is expected to return tonight against Utah. So some good news there that the Lakers are going to have their point guard Dennis Schroeder back in this game tonight. But definitely things are out of sorts right now for the LA Lakers, just not in sync, not in rhythm, maybe a little bit of disinterest. However, I know we've talked about this, Skee. We have. And I know Utah's a juggernaut right now. The only loss straight up in ATS during this unbelievable stretch was the second of the 2 games against the Clippers last Friday. Other than that, marvelous. However, you have to keep in mind something here about that Charlotte game the other night. For 3 quarters, the Jazz are playing some pretty mediocre basketball in that game. They really were. And they looked like they were in life and death struggle to win the game, let alone cover the number. And then all of a sudden, they just hit 1 3 after another in the 4th against Charlotte, and they pull away. And they win and cover with ease. And that's also factored into people seeing that and say, wow, you got to just ride this Utah team. And now we're getting a crazy number. Maybe Utah wins and covers tonight because they're in that much of a groove right now. But I know from a value standpoint in this game, I'm not getting value with Utah here. I'm not at 9 and not as 9-point favorites. I know the Lakers have been in a little bit of a funk here, 3 straight losses, straight up in ATS, Brooklyn, Miami, Washington. But if there's one game the Lakers are going to say, you know what, we're showing up. We're bringing it, A+ effort, the whole bit. LeBron right through to KCP, right through to returning Dennis Schroeder, Kuzma, go on down the list. If you're going to get one game and one spot that's circled from this Laker team to say it's time to step up and get out of this slide and show our best here, it's tonight in a spotlight game, a main event type of attraction during the regular season against this Utah team. And we've talked about the Lakers. When they're interested, we kind of want to back them. When they're on the road against a pretty good team, we kind of want to back them. 13-3 for the Lakers, straight up on the road, a winning point spread record on the road. I haven't bet it yet. Waiting. Maybe the line even creeps up further, but I've got the Lakers as a potential bet here at +9. I know for a fact it's not value with the Jazz -9. So for me, it's Lakers or pass. Skee, what do you think here? Lakers, Jazz?
It's not a potential bet for me. I'm betting with the Lakers. And I'm not a guy, you guys know I'm a Laker fan. I bet against the Lakers too. But this is just disrespectful. Like 8.5, 9 points. You expect the Lakers to just get blown out? You're showing absolutely no respect for the defending champs. They're 1-0 this one time that they're a dog, and they won that game on a short spread. And yes, Ian, like you said, we like the Lakers on the road because they take pride in winning on the road. They're 13-3, I think, and 13-3 to the under. I could be a little bit wrong about the straight up, but they're really good on the road. And the thing about the total is no Schroeder, no AD means no defense for me. And I heard you say Schroeder's in, but I have him out till Friday. I don't think he's playing tonight. And without him and
Yeah,
Anthony
you're right. You're
Davis,
100% right. You're right. I'm seeing expected back, and it says Friday, and I didn't look at the Friday. I focused more on expected back, and I just assumed tonight. So you're right. You're actually right on that. There is no Schroeder tonight for the LA Lakers. He is back Friday, not in tonight. So good call there.
okay. And so I don't trust the Lakers defense necessarily, but I do think that they can score with Utah. And the only way, in my opinion, that they're going to win without those defensive guys is they have to play faster. So I would lean a little bit more towards the over in this game for that reason. And I mean, Lakers lost 3 in a row. You've heard them say before that they don't do that. I can't remember if they did it last year, but I know LeBron is going to get up for his game. I know the rest of the team is going to get up for his game. And you're just giving me close to double digits. I'm taking the Lakers, and I lean towards the over.
Yeah, Dennis Schroeder is out tonight. Everyone else, and of course AD is. Everyone else is accounted for tonight. Don't worry about. There's so many injury reports where it says game time decision on all these guys. LeBron's playing. Kyle Kuzma's playing. Markieff Morris is playing. All of these guys that show up still on these injury reports, they're all in tonight for the Lakers. The only guys they're without are Schroeder and AD. Everybody else.
I did want to share one more angle on that. I forgot. Just besides gut feel and watching them play and stuff like that, but rested home teams that won their last game as a favorite but had to come back from double digits to do it. Back to 2019, those teams are 21-40 against the spread, and this year they're 8-15 against the spread. That's the Utah Jazz. So another reason to like the Lakers.
Yeah, I kind of said after the other night, and maybe I jumped to the conclusion. That's why you can't just make a snap judgment and not be willing to say, you know what, I'll back off and maybe change my thought. My thought is after losing with Charlotte the other night against Utah, well, you know what, took my chance maybe in a bubble burst spot after losing to the Clippers that the Utah would stumble. They didn't, and I'm like, well, I can't go against them anytime soon. But I didn't expect to be turning around 48 hours later and seeing them 9-point favorites over the defending NBA champions like they are here. I'm kind of with you. I think I got to get in on something here on the Lakers. This is craziness, in my opinion. 9-point favorites against the Lakers here. My gosh, I know it's been an unbelievable run for the Jazz, but you don't think for a second LeBron and that team is just not licking their chops right now at, trying to serve a little reminder to everybody that, hey, everyone's ready to think Utah's ready to take our throne here in the West. Hold on a little bit. We're still here. You're probably going to get that kind of mentality from the Lakers tonight. That wouldn't surprise me one bit. All right, that is the Wednesday NBA card, and certainly that's the featured game, Lakers Jazz. We're looking forward to that for sure. Best bets, it's time for it. We'll see what we've got for best bets. Skee Profit, we'll start with you. Wednesday night best bet, what do you like?
I'm going to give one that probably a lot of people don't like. And it's going to be maybe a plug your nose play, cover your ears, close your eyes. And it's going to be Detroit Pistons plus the 9.5. I just don't understand why New Orleans is laying or expecting them to win by double digits. I don't understand it. And I talked a lot earlier why I like it. And I'll give you one other angle. Teams that are on the road, they won their last game on the road, and they lost the 3 before that, all on the road. Those teams are 12-2 against the spread since 2017, and that's the Detroit Pistons. So I'll take them plus the 9.5.
All right, Detroit Pistons plus 9.5 against New Orleans for Skee Profit. I'm going to hope they get you through in the second half too, because I've had 2 losses in a row with Detroit as road dogs this year, where they had a great start and they just coughed it up in the second half. So I'm going to hope they have a good second half for you tonight in this game against New Orleans. Maybe they don't need it because, again, the Pelicans are very, very untrustworthy in this kind of price range. So I see where you're going with the Pistons here in this one, plus 9.5. My best bet is going to be Charlotte Phoenix. We're going to go over 225.5 in this one. Charlotte, I was on the over against Utah, even though Charlotte plus the points failed for me. The over didn't. I was on the over in that game. I've been on a lot of Charlotte games over the total lately, and you can't argue with the way the Suns are rolling offensively right now. Everybody, especially Paul and Booker, and Skee mentioned it. Maybe you throw some Booker props on your betting portfolio tonight. Points, especially, got to look that way because you would think he's going to really want to have a big night. That happens a lot. The All-Star snub, the first game after the snub, the guy really wants to play well and put a good foot forward. It happens so often in this league when someone doesn't get in the All-Star game when they think they should have. You might see that from Booker. You'll see them score on Charlotte, who are still very faulty defensively. But Charlotte, again, with LaMelo running the point, their offense is in good form. Hayward's in tonight. He'll return from that hand injury. That'll help the offense as well. So we'll go with Charlotte Phoenix over 225.5 for my best bet. Yeah, Mike in the chat. Yes, the counterpoint would be, this could be the spot you could say Utah says we're the best team in the NBA. Yeah, of course. Utah's bringing it tonight. I don't doubt that. Of course they want to show that. Of course they want to. But you're also talking about showing that and winning by 10, winning by double digits against the defending champs, the Lakers. I mean, that's the thing. It's all about the point spread, the great equalizer. But that's why it's a fun game to watch tonight. I can't wait for it for sure. All right, that'll wrap up this edition of the Pub Sports Radio NBA Closing Time Show for Wednesday, February 24th. Thanks to everyone for tuning in and watching. We'll be back on Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific for the next edition of the NBA Closing Time Show. For Skee Profit, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Wednesday night. Enjoy the NBA action. Enjoy the games and good luck. We'll see you again on Friday for another edition of the NBA Closing Time Show right here on Pub Sports Radio.